Hi everyone, Bear from Bear Reads Books. Welcome back to my channel, here for another book review today. I've finished another book. So we're up to, I don't know, 4 for the year already, which is great for me. So I'm really ploughing through them. This one I held really high hopes for, and that is Ian McEwan's Machines Like Me. And it has received a lot of praise. But it is a little bit divisive. There's some people that just didn't get it. There's some people that really got it and thought it was classic Ian McEwan. And I think they're right. In parts it is real classic Ian McEwan. If you don't know Ian McEwan, look him up. He's things like Atonement and it's on Chesil Beach, and there's a whole bunch. He's been writing for decades. But really this one is... this one left me a little bit confused. And I'm going to start by saying I only gave it 3 stars. I really like the story, and I think it could have done so much more. And to give you a bit of a rundown of the plot, it has to do with a man who in the early 80s, so it is a reimagined past, so we're in the early 1980s, Thatcher is Prime Minister, there are rolling strikes, protests in the street because of the poll tax, because of the Falklands War, so all of those normal things that happened at the beginning of the 1980s in Britain. But the reimagined future bit is that Alan Turing, the inventor of, or the person who first thought of something like artificial intelligence, is still alive. So rather than in the 1950s committing suicide, the nation embraced him as a genius, and a lot of his inventions and theories became real much earlier than they would have otherwise. So all of the technology that you see in a modern world in 2020, so phones, laptops, electric cars, all that sort of stuff, is then placed in the context of 1982's Thatcher's Britain, which is a really weird mix. And for a long time in the book, I wondered, really, why are you doing this? And the only reason I could come up with for why Ian McEwan would do a reimagined 1982, I think the only reason is he wanted Alan Turing to receive, one, the recognition he deserved as a homosexual man, but also as a truly brilliant man, as a truly brilliant scientist. So he wanted that. And then he wanted to be able to use Turing's words, or to reimagine Turing and what he thought of a modern world. So, because he died in the 50s, you can't say he's going to be alive in 2020, that would make him too old. So if you bring it back to 1982, there is a chance that had Turing survived in the 50s, he would still be alive in the 80s. So it seems to me that the only reason why Ian McEwan would choose to reimagine 1982 is to give Turing a voice, and to give Alan Turing the kudos that he should have received back in the 50s, before he sadly took his own life after being imprisoned and after being hounded out of the public sphere by what was then a very conservative society. So I think what he's done is used 1982 purely as a vehicle to put Alan Turing in the story, to give Alan Turing a voice so that he is able to comment on a modern society and where we are as a society today. I just don't see why. So to give you an idea of the plot, we're not just in 1982, we're not just in Thatcher's Britain of 1982 and everything that means. We have this man who has purchased one of the first batch of artificial intelligence robots. There's male and female, there's Adams and Eves all around the world, and he's secured himself an Adam who gets delivered to his house, or he brings to his house, and fun and frivolity occur. Not quite. And he lives with this AI in his home, and his girlfriend from upstairs, who ends up being his fiancée, they dually create the personality of this AI being called Adam. And many things happen. I don't want to spoil anything, but that particular story is really interesting and really engaging. And I think all by itself, having the first batch of an AI human in your house would tell a really interesting novel-sized story. You don't need to pick it up and put it in 1982 Thatcher's Britain to complete that story. You don't need to say something about Alan Turing to complete that story. It's a really engaging story all by itself, and they could have fleshed that out even more. And what it felt like was they skimmed over a lot of what that could have been because they wanted to tease out the Alan Turing thing, or they wanted to tease out these long, drawn-out portions of the book about the Falklands War or about the poll tax. And then you've got this other subplot with the girlfriend who has a secret that is a secret from her past that Adam unveils. Adam, the AI, unveils this secret from the girlfriend's past that she's been hiding from the boyfriend who owns Adam. And that secret and how that plays out and how it gets resolved is also a really interesting and engaging story, which in and of itself would make a really excellent relationship-based story, a la what Ian McEwan has great skill in creating. But they choose to make that part of the larger AI story, which then becomes part of the larger Turing story. It's really quite diluted. What could be an excellent commentary on where we're heading as a modern society in our reliance on technology, on our need for instant gratification, on the emptiness of our relationships, on how we treat other people. There's so much that is commented upon here, but it just feels like they're just skimming over the surface because they feel like they need... Ian McEwan feels like he needs to comment on the Falklands War or comment on redeeming Alan Turing from being lambasted in history, from being denied his place in history. It's a really strange mix, and I really wanted to like it more. I think in its various pieces it does beautiful things, it does wonderful things, but just all together it seems like a bit of a jumble, and that's so disappointing because I've read Ian McEwan before and it's solid, always solid, beautiful writing, beautiful characterization, really good stories. And this one, exactly the same, really beautiful writing, really beautiful character development, great stories, plural, that all seem to run parallel and touch each other sometimes, and then it just becomes a jumble. So it loses itself in itself, which sounds weird, but that's kind of how I feel. It loses itself in itself. It gets confused with what it's there to do, and it ends up confusing me, the reader. I think it's been generally well received, and I think it's been on a few book prize long lists, and I want to make this very clear. I really, really enjoyed it, and if it was, I think I put 3 on Goodreads, it's probably a 3.5. I seriously wanted to give it 4 because I did enjoy it. I just thought it was poorly executed in parts. But if you are an Ian McEwan fan, I think you'd still enjoy it. There was a level of enjoyment there that I would say, no, I don't wish that I hadn't read this book. I really enjoyed reading this book. I just really wished I could have given this book more than a 3. And I'm still thinking about it. Like, I still feel bad about giving it a 3. Anyway, I'd love to hear your comments. If you've read this book and you had similar or different opinions about Ian McEwan's Machines Like Me, please comment below. I'd love to hear from you. But please enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, wherever you may be, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.